Mm.
Okay. All right, I'm Joanna with Blissful Baby Sleep Coaching, and I am here with Anne McKittrick of Nurtured Noggins, who is a 30-year veteran parenting expert. And I am so happy to have Anne back with us because she's such a wealth of information. And today's topic is all about what you need to know about having a baby during the pandemic.
Mhm.
And, we all thought that maybe by now we'd be kind of
Yeah.
out of this. And here we are looking at probably all of winter and definitely into spring. And, we still want to grow our families and have babies and feel comfortable with those choices. So I think having this conversation about having a baby in the pandemic, like we can't avoid not having this conversation anymore. We have to start
Right.
talking about it.
Right.
So, Anne, thank you so much for being here. And I'd like you just to kind of kick off some thoughts about these decisions about whether to have a baby or if you're pregnant, what you need to be thinking about.
Okay. Yeah. Well, thank you, first of all, for inviting me to join you here today. I'm so happy to be here. And, a lot of people are saying that there's going to be a baby boom because of the pandemic, because we're stuck at home, and it's just kind of the way, the nature of us as people. We we have babies when we're stuck at home, and so, and also, I want to start out by saying there's a lot of babies who have been born during the pandemic. In fact, my daughter had a baby in May, and it was just right when things were really scary because we were learning then, and we still are learning every day. But it was only a few months old at that point, and so life is continuing. People are having babies, and there's just a different sort of set of circumstances that we need to consider and think about and think through as expecting parents and those of us who are supporting people who are having babies right now. One of the things that the experts say, and I know that you know this to be true as a parent, Joanna, is that children pick up our stress and our anxiety, and so we really need to do all we can as an expectant mother, because the baby inside you is picking up your stress, and it's a very subtle and organic kind of thing. But that is one of the things that research tells us, is that they are able to pick up on these negative things. And so it really is important for us to keep ourselves in a healthy place in every way during pregnancy, mentally and physically as well. And so figuring out how to deal with anxiety and fear in a healthy way is just kind of one of the jobs that we have as adults. And I don't think it's a thing that ever goes away. I'm always continuing to face fears, even at my ripe age of 60 plus. And so anyways, dealing with your anxiety in a healthy way is a really good thing to keep in mind. It's just kind of keep it in the back of your mind as you are
Yes,
thinking about it.
absolutely. And I would say, while you're thinking about it for your own self as a mother, be watching your partner too,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
sometimes what happens is that one partner's okay and then the other partner's not, and the
Mhm.
anxiety of the one partner then kind of folds into and bleeds into kind of the family
Right.
system.
Right.
Um, and so you could be working really, really, really hard to kind of keep yourself above. And if this person isn't doing the same amount of work, so
Hmm.
I think it's an important conversation to have, like, hey, if I'm doing the hard work to keep myself really, physically and emotionally strong and mentally strong, I need you to be doing the same thing. Because again, going
Yeah.
back to what is the baby picking up on, um,
Mhm.
what is that intensity in the household? It's it's
Right.
it's it's not the easiest thing to be thinking about. It can make us more
Right.
nervous about
Right.
that, but it is,
Yeah.
but it actually is a great motivation to keep your mental health at the
Yeah.
forefront.
Yeah. And I think it's really important to, just to stay focused on what's actually happening.
Yeah.
We can get really focused on what's happening across the world, across the nation, in other states, in other cities. But what's important is what's happening in your little corner of the world,
Mhm.
because that's I mean, I don't mean to make it sound as if it doesn't matter what's happening elsewhere, but really what's affecting you personally is what's happening where you are. And to not allow yourself to go into the worst case scenario anytime you hear some bad news. And so, it's just kind of a mindset thing.
Yes.
And a matter of figuring out how to face that.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
Well, I have a question that came in. So in advance, I let everyone know you were coming, and I got flooded with some really good questions. So unless you had anything else you wanted to add, I'd love to ask that first question.
Sure, let's go ahead.
Okay. So this is such a good question, you guys. Okay. The question is, I'm pregnant and I've always envisioned being with other moms, doing play dates and things like that. I feel like I'm going to be stuck inside, not able to take my baby out places. I got several questions that had the same feeling around that. And so I was wondering if you could speak to that.
Okay. Yeah, it's kind of one of those things. It's true. We do need to keep our newborn babies, especially, but all of our children and ourselves away from other people. I think the thing is just that we have to be really creative about ways that we can connect, and to think about places you can go where you're around other people without endangering anybody. And so the things that come to mind for me are just getting outside and going for a walk. Even if your baby is 2 weeks old, you can put them in a snuggly. They're facing you and your chest. The cover is over their head, and you're wearing a mask, and you're staying 8 feet away from anybody that you happen to walk by. I think the odds are pretty good that your baby's going to be fine in that situation. And so just getting outside can do a world of good for anybody, but especially a person who is in postpartum and needing to move and needing to get out of the house and connect. You could do that alongside somebody if you were a good distance apart, and that just would take some discipline, and it would mean that you would need to not have 3-year-olds with you because they're not quite as good at keeping that distance. But if it's just you and your baby and another person and their baby, and you're both wearing a snuggly and you're both wearing masks and you're staying 6 to 7 feet apart, this is just Anne's opinion, but I think that probably that would be okay. And it's really good for your mental health to talk to a friend and to have that connection. If you can't do it in person, of course, you can do it in a sense, just like you and I are. We're on a video camera talking, and this is every bit as effective. It's not quite as good, but we're all getting used to connecting online, and I know I do that with my friends. We'll just take ourselves away from everybody else where we can have some true privacy and share a glass of wine together as we catch up. And so I think that would probably be a great thing for new moms and dads. Even just getting in your car and driving around just to get out of the house. I know I do that. And that's just a way to do it, just to go drive. And I have found many houses in my town that I've never seen before that are really pretty.
Yeah. And on that note, some people will say, well, I shouldn't take my baby on a car nap. That's not a good thing to do. And actually, I would say that absolutely there's nothing wrong with a mobile nap, especially in the newborn phase, because we're really talking about in this conversation about moms that are pregnant, moms that have the newborn 0 to 6 months. And, the isolation is actually worse than making the efforts to get creative with having interaction, right? So, taking a drive in the car, if you're in a climate where you can go, obviously stroller, or if it's cold and you can still bundle baby up and get on a walk. And it's just so important to engage and to really make that effort to, even through Zoom, to interact with your peer group of new moms, because you need that emotional support. And even better if it's a new mom group that's facilitated by an individual that has experience in all things newborn and new mom, so that you can really get some current advice on the challenges that are being met right now with being a new mom in the pandemic.
Yeah. And, I think that it's really important for us to all remember, as a saying that was told to me years ago, is never underestimate the power of the ask. And
Mm.
everybody is wanting to connect. If you're waiting for someone to invite you to connect, it might be a little while. So go ahead and be the initiator, be the inviter. Say to somebody who you know somewhat, but you feel a connection with, who also has a baby, and say, hey, what if we just text each other each morning and compare notes on how our night went? Let's just having some form of connection with somebody on a regular and routine basis, I think is really, really important, especially for brand new mamas and dads, but
Yeah, and
especially the
people,
mamas.
and I would add to that, like beyond just like a Facebook group, like people that you can actually develop a relationship with,
Yes. Yeah.
right?
Just like
Not so
one or two. Yeah.
one or two that you got to know through a small mom Zoom group, or
Mhm.
one or two neighborhood moms. There's lots of resources. If you look up like Moms
Mhm.
Offering Other Mothers Support is a wonderful national organization. There's MOPS, same thing, MOPS, which is another mom's organization, which puts you in age appropriate groups so that you can actually
Mhm.
build an individual relationship with a live person
Right.
instead of just some random Facebook board with a mommy
Right.
group.
Yeah.
Okay, here's another big question that came up. I
Okay.
feel, so these are some of the moms that are already like, they're in the now, they have the baby, and they're saying, I feel really isolated and full of anxiety about potential infection for my baby.
Mhm.
And so therefore, like, I'm even afraid to like go do the things you're suggesting.
Right.
So do you have any up-to-date information on newborns and infection, or kind of the do's and the don'ts, just so people have a general guideline? Because you don't want to go too far to isolation. That's kind of what we're trying to
Right.
say here. This conversation is
Right.
mental health is super important, whether you're pregnant or a new mom, because you don't want to fall into postpartum depression and anxiety disorders.
Right. Yeah. I think that I would suggest that anybody who wants to ask that question talk to their own pediatrician, because they would have a better grasp on what's going on in that particular community, in that particular setting. I really wouldn't want to steer anybody wrong and, say anything about that. But I do think it's really important that we all pay attention to what we're reading and listening to. And it might be a good idea to take a little break from the news or social media, or just all of the information. It's just coming at us all the time. And what the mental health experts, they call this mental health fake news. Just that it's just this bombarding of all of the what ifs, or the this could, or just all of this stuff that that makes us anxious. And so if social media, or if whatever it is that you're listening to, podcasts or whatever, if it's making you feel anxious, pay attention to that and just do this. Take them out. Oops, I just dropped that.
Take out the earbud and give yourself a break.
Yeah, yeah.
So that brings me to another question, which I think is really an important question. It says, how can I get my partner to be more cautious about exposure when he or she is at work? I feel like they're not taking my feelings about being pregnant or with my newborn seriously enough. And to me, like where this comes in is it comes into this very important topic of the first conversations you're having about your parenting values as a couple.
Right.
So Anne has a lot of experience in this area of communication and parenting decisions. So maybe you can talk about that, Anne.
Yeah. I think it's really interesting. It's when you become pregnant and you are getting ready to start your family, you have 7-8 months of prep time for that. And how you go about getting ready is going to be different for every person. But this might be one of the first opportunities that you have to really come together as a team and figure this thing out. And it might be the beginning of kind of a mindset switch for you, where you've been these two people who just kind of think and do independently. You're together, but you still are your independent people. Well, now all of a sudden, together, you have this other person that you're responsible for, whether that person is born or not. And it's just when you get to start this conversation, and it's one that will continue for the whole time you're a parent, which is the rest of your life. And so there's several things to do. One is to really examine your own feelings about it and identify how you feel about what's happening. And then figure out a mature and healthy way to express those feelings to your partner and talk it through in a way where you can come to a decision or come to an agreement about how it's going to be. And so I think examining yourself and figuring out what your emotions are and figuring out how to express them. For me, that's a tricky thing. It takes me a long time to figure out what am I feeling? I don't even know. And then to have a healthy conversation. And also, I think it would be a really great idea for both of you to go on the prenatal visits. And, I know that a lot of, it's hard for a second person to come along. A lot of offices are just saying one person can come in. And I get that, but we do have a phone in our back pocket that has a FaceTime, and you can just have another person there by phone and just let them be a part of the conversation, hear everything the doctor is saying, ask the questions, so that there's this third person, the authority figure, who is telling you both, this is what you need to do to keep your baby safe. And this is what you need to not worry about. This is what you do need to worry about, so that you're both hearing it from this other person. And it's not one person telling the other one, well, listen, I know this because I read it. And it just kind of leads into a power struggle. Right. But it's just probably one of the first things that we'll get to do is figure this one problem out. And then guess what? There's going to be 100,000 more that pop up over the years.
So I think it's really interesting too, because as a baby sleep coach, sometimes the first big parenting decision parents will make is to choose to sleep train their baby. That's typically like the first, you choose to get pregnant, you choose, or maybe daycare or something like that is like your first big one.
Yeah,
but kind of the second big one is, hey, if the sleep situation is not going well, then that is kind of like the team has to come together and decide how are we going to address this. But I feel like now this new, how are we going to address life in COVID is actually almost like the foundational, parenting decision that's being made first before visits with family, before visit, daycare, before what am I going to do if my baby's not sleeping? So, when you come together as a team to make a parenting decision, it requires time, consideration, negotiation. Because if you don't have that collaboration, then the communication just starts to break down pretty quickly.
Right.
And so I think that if we look at this through the lens of like, okay, we are a family parenting in the pandemic. We actually need to talk about this and make some decisions how we as a family are going to manage visitors. Are you comfortable with walks? Are you not comfortable with walks? Who's going to go to the grocery store? Like all of that, right? And come up with a plan so that then you're not living in anxiety because, oh my gosh, he went to the work function, or oh my gosh, he went to the market and he forgot to bring his mask, or whatever. You guys have already pre-negotiated kind of the rules of the household, which will take away some of the other concerns that we're all having right now on how to keep our family and our children safe.
Right. Yeah. I've actually been working a lot on some things for new parents along this line. One is it's a little free mini course that I'll have it ready hopefully by next week, but it's called 3 Must-Have Conversations for Pregnant Couples. And it teaches you how to, A, know what you need to talk about, and B, how to talk about that, how to talk about things that you've never talked about before. Because, there's decisions to be made. And right now, one of the decisions that you might want to consider is, do I really want to have my baby at the hospital? Do I need to have a hospital birth? Can I have the baby at home? I mean, that's a huge decision that needs to be made early on in pregnancy. But if the hospital doesn't feel like it's going to be the best place for you, the safest place for your baby, then look at alternatives. Anyways, that is coming up. And then I've also got a course for brand new parent, or for pregnant parents, actually. It's called Birth School. And in that course, we look at all of these different things that you need to learn about. How to, what do you need to know about having the baby, about the birth, and what do you need to know about prenatal fitness, and then feeding your baby, and then how do you set your house up? How do you how do you do life with a newborn baby? Because it's a huge change in your life. It's a beautiful change, but it is a big change. And so I would just invite any of you guys. I'm going to give Joanna my email address. You can just email me, or you can message me through Facebook, and let me know you're interested. The links are just a little bit wiggly right now, and so I don't want to give any links today. But if you just let me know you're interested, I would love for you to contact me at any of these places.
Yes, so. And you can see that, so I'm going to be putting both in the comments, and I've kind of put it on the screen just right now in case you're just taking a quick glance at your phone, that Anne it's Nurtured Noggins is the website, and then also her handle on Facebook and Instagram are the same. And then here is her email address, Anne at nurturednoggins.com. And when she gets this link for both this mini course on how to have these important conversations, or the three most important conversations you've got to make sure you have. Like, I think that's awesome that there's just start with 3. And
Let's
then
do 3. They're back to 3.
Her Birth School is fantastic, because I know that it sure would be nice to kind of have one unified place to come to kind of guide the family unit around what we need to be thinking about pregnancy, right after birth, how to give a bath, how to do postnatal care, what to be looking for, both for the husband and wife in those first couple of months of life with a newborn. And I love that you call it Birth School, because I think every mother would benefit. I know I would have benefited from that. Right. Because I was kind of like the blind leading the blind. I was one of the first of my mommy friends to have a baby. So I didn't have any old time friends to go to say, show me the way. And I think a lot of families right now are in that situation because of the isolation. There isn't that network of show me the way or come over. I mean, I remember one girlfriend literally drove 2 hours to take me to Babies R Us when that was the place to go. And literally walked me down every aisle and was like, you need this, but not this, and this, and not this. And I was just shocked, because all the stuff I thought I needed, I didn't need. And she got me all the basics. So Birth School, I think is great.
Yeah, thanks. It's funny because I studied child development. I studied it for 6 years in college, and I always worked with children. I was an infant teacher in college lab programs where we trained early childhood teachers to be good teachers. I worked in the programs where we taught that, and I was the baby teacher. But whenever I had my own babies, I was just like little. I didn't even know what to do. I don't know what it is about being a new parent, but it just is baffling. And so
we need as much mentoring as possible. And I can say that Anne of Nurtured Noggins is the best mommy mentor you could ever hope to have. So I will make sure to get that out to everybody, and that you have the Birth School, which is going to be great. And also this important mini course on how to have these 3 important conversations. So thank you so much. And anyone that's watching this on the replay, if you have any questions for me or Anne, don't hesitate to just do #replay. And we'll make sure that we get those questions answered. And you can reach out to Anne, and she'll get you hooked up with these 2 resources she just mentioned.
Great. Thanks so much, Joanna.
You're welcome. Always a pleasure. Okay. Bye.
Bye-bye.